Hey, what's up, everybody? Hi, Jen.
Hi, Peng Joon. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. My hair's not so good. This is like Dave. I don't know. I haven't had my haircut. This is my quarantine haircut right now.
Where are you exactly? Is this your living
Uh,
room? You have like a guitar looking thing in the
yeah,
back.
yeah. I'm back home, stuck here for I don't know. It's been 2 months now.
2 months. And how have you coped with being stuck for 2 months?
I actually like it. I've actually been more productive. Actually, before this, I know they
Oh,
were supposed to talk about productivity, but actually, right until this point, I've never had a morning routine. So it's good. I kind of started to have a morning routine because of this new normal. And I'm really liking this momentum and this productivity in this new normal.
and now that the MCO is semi-lifted, has that affected you in any way, emotionally or mentally?
Well, for me, I still am playing it safe. I'm still haven't really gone out, haven't really done anything different. So, not really. The only thing that's different really is that every day I am FaceTiming my parents. I haven't done that like every day before the lockdown. So I think that because of that also, it has got me to look at life very differently, to really appreciate people and things that I never really looked into that deep
Yeah,
until
I
until.
think I really think MCO has kind of forced people, for lack of a better word, to reflect upon themselves, what they want to do with their lives, what they have taken for granted. And I think it's a really great time to reflect. And that's why today's topic, I was really excited to talk about procrastination, because that is something that I personally do. And I found ways to kind of tackle it, but every now and then it does eat me back alive. So I want to know from your point of view, have you ever had a time where you procrastinated, it was so bad, and how you got out of it? Maybe you can share with us your
I'm
experience.
I'm still procrastinating. Every day I'm procrastinating. I think the thing about procrastination is first of all, the reason why procrastination is kind of seen as a bad thing because it's like we're living in this world where it's about achievement and productivity. And whenever we go on social media, there's some guru that's saying, you know what, you should be hustling and grinding 15 hours a day, and if you're not doing that, then you are a loser. If you're not hustling and working on Christmas Eve, then you're good for nothing. And it's because of this, like procrastination has become this bad evil thing, and society has made that if you procrastinate, it means that you're either lazy or you're good for nothing. And it's but we got to understand that procrastination is not a bad trait. It is not a character flaw. The reason why people procrastinate is just two things. Okay, number one, I think it's because they don't have clarity on what is the next thing that needs to be done. That small step that brings them 1 inch closer to that goal. Okay, and number two, people procrastinate because they have lack of of importance, or it's just not important enough. Their why is not strong enough. I mean, Jen, think about this thing. What is one thing that you have this goal or this ambition or this thing that you want to do for a while, but you have been procrastinating? What is that one thing?
So I've always wanted to start my own business, as in have a product that
Oh,
it's not just so I'm Jen. It is a product that I've created that people can enjoy at home, not just see me as a video. And I've kind of analyzed this as to why I've kept it for so long. And I've always continuously given myself excuses. And I think that one of the biggest thing is fear of failure. That's why I think I personally procrastinate on a lot of big things in my life. So that's the one thing that I've been putting off for the longest time. And this MCO has kind of caused me to reevaluate that. Like, why am I procrastinating? Why am I so afraid of this? You get what I mean?
mhm. Yeah, and imagine this, right? So imagine if there was this impending deadline where there will be a consequence to it. It will be something painful. And let's say if there was this deadline that says, Jen, if you don't release this product 12 months from now, something bad's going to happen to a loved one. Something bad is going to happen to John. Okay, I don't know if John's watching this
Okay.
right now. Just imagine this. Okay, let's just be a
Okay.
little bit
Okay.
extreme. Okay,
Let's go. Let's go.
um
Ready.
I hope you're not too extreme for what day is it today? Wednesday
It's a
night?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, right? So imagine this. Okay, um do you think so imagine it's like 12 months from now, if you don't release this product, John's not able to have an erection anymore. Okay. So, hey John.
I'm loving it.
So can you imagine, do you think you would make it happen? You're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. I hope. Right?
Well, what are we talking about here?
So the
Okay,
point I'm
right.
trying to make is that when our why and our desire, and when it's important enough, we'll make it happen. So
that
the way
means
to avoid procrastination is to change something that is important to critical or urgent. Because if we can do that with our goals, that is when we'll find a compelling reason to actually make it happen.
So what you're saying is, if let's just say I have a goal that I want to achieve, and I've been putting it off, I need to attach some kind of urgency to it or some kind of deadline to it to make it more important. And with that, it will help me get out of procrastination.
Yes, when number one, there's consequence, or there's some sort of pain or price to be paid, or accountability, where you tell a friend, hey, look, I want to get 6-pack abs, and right now, this is how my body looks like right now. And in 6 months, 1 year, if I don't make this happen, you're going to post this embarrassing picture of me on Instagram or whatever. Right now, there's like this pain attached to it.
Have stake.
Yeah.
There's a stake to it, some stakes to it.
Yep. The reason why people procrastinate is because there's no consequence. It's like if I don't do it, nothing happens. And that's why nothing happens.
I like that. I actually really, really like that, because I look at procrastination as kind of a trait. And what you say is not a trait. I think that's a paradigm shift for me. I think another question that I want to ask you is, earlier you said, or in your post, you've written, don't talk, just act. So I want to kind of put that into context of procrastination. Do you think that people tend to do that? They just talk and talk and talk and they don't act. Do you think that's a form of procrastination?
In a way. And here's the reason why. It's because of social media. You see, 20 years ago, if you wanted to start a business and run a real business and get results, you actually have to go do it. But today, anybody can go on Instagram and under description, type in entrepreneur, CEO, product influencer, ambassador of something XYZ, and everybody can create that profile, that image of success in getting results, and take this selfie picture, hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag grind, hashtag never give up, to create that illusion of getting results. But in fact, it's all just a facade. It's not real. So that is why people just talk. It's because of what social media has actually done and created.
But don't you think the flip side of it, the more you talk, the more you verbalize. It's like talking therapy. Like the more you verbalize, the more you kind of start thinking about the pros and the cons, and the more people you share it with, the more you might materialize it. Do you think that is also the flip side?
I agree. The more you talk about it, but when you attach, again, a deadline, something that has to happen, some sort of result, accountability, that is when it actually materializes.
I think that's a paradigm shift. Yeah, I really, really like that.
Yeah, it's about having that specific goal on what is the next thing that needs to be done, so that when you actually hit that milestone, that goal, then that's the next thing that needs to be done, and the next thing that needs to be done. And you always attach that with a consequence or a price to be paid or some sort of accountability. And that's how we find that momentum on the next thing that needs to be done.
I think that's a really good advice. Those of you watching, again, if you just joined us, this is talking all about procrastination, how to beat procrastination, and on top of that, life after MCO. Now, let's talk about during MCO. So earlier you mentioned every single day you've been procrastinating. What do you mean by that?
So there's always these long list of things that we all know we need to get done, right? So we all have this to-do list. And if you were to take a look at like your list of to-do lists, chances are there's a lot of things that we need done. And when you look at a list and you ask yourself, like, what are the things that it's important? It looks like they're all important, right? So how do we make it done? It is when we are able to change it to critical. So the way I look at my to-do list is, if I want to have something done and it's truly important, I try to ask myself, how can I make it critical so I can't back out of it? So let's say I know I need to create a product. Okay, so like for you, Jen, you want to sell that product, but you have all these different considerations, issues. The best way to make sure you get it done is to go sell it first. So can you imagine if right now you went on social media and you said, hey everybody, I'm gonna start my own skincare line, 水水的, and if you order from me, right, it's gonna moisturize your face and it's gonna do all these different things. And right now this is the pre-order stage, okay? And let's say during a pre-order you sold 500 units. And guess what? When you make that happen, there's no way you can back out of it now. Because if you back out of it, your reputation's gonna be affected. There's gonna be people calling you a scam. All these things that's gonna happen, right? So that is how you turn something from urgent to critical. So take a look at a to-do list and ask yourself, how can I commit to this thing? Declare it on social media, sell it first. Make sure that when that thing happens, I can't back out of it anymore. And that's how you beat procrastination.
I think that circles back to your post about don't talk, just act. And also the theme for today, do before you think. Just put it out there and create some sense of urgency and some sense of danger almost. I really, really like the points that you've given, but I want to ask regarding habits. So earlier you mentioned about right now you have a morning habit, a morning routine. I personally think creating a habit, it is in the same theme of do before you think. Creating a habit can help with procrastination. For example, those of you, a lot of them message me about, oh, how do you get that that motivation to work out every single day? And for me, it's like I pencil it in my schedule every single morning. After my coffee, I sit down there for a bit and then I work out. So then from there, I stop giving myself excuses. I stop telling myself, a bit sore yet. No, I have to do it because it's part of the schedule. For you, do you think habits like that can help beat procrastination?
Yeah, well, so it begins with this, right? The reason why most people don't do something or don't begin with some sort of habit is because they're waiting for the feeling or the emotion in order to have motion, right? They want to, so most of the time when people want to do something, they want to wait for the feeling first. They say, oh, I want to write my book, but I'm not writing my book yet because I haven't had the inspiration to write it yet. So I'm waiting for the inspiration, and then when I get the inspiration, I'll go do it. When people say they want to go to the gym and they want to lose weight or they want to do the workout, they say, oh, I want to work out, but today I don't feel like doing it. And therefore I don't do it. When in fact, it should be the other way around. We should actually have the motion first and do it even when we don't feel like doing it, because the motion is what eventually creates the emotion. It's when we take the first step and do that workout, even when we don't feel like doing it, even when we're not in the mood, even when we are tired. And it's the times when we don't feel like doing it and have the motion. And when we have the motion, that's when eventually we have the emotion. It's like, I don't feel like writing a chapter today for my book, but let me just write the first paragraph anyway. And with the first paragraph, with the first table of contents, then it's like, oh, now that you see it, that's when eventually you'll have the emotion. It is the motion that creates the emotion, not the other way around. When most of the time people wait for the emotion in order to have motion.
Okay, let me just break it down for myself. The emotion first. So more of like that inspiration before you actually do the actual work. Is that what you're saying?
No, so it's you don't wait for inspiration.
You don't wait for inspiration.
You do it anyway, and then the inspiration and then the motivation will come.
So I did some research, sorry?
No, so like, yeah, so what I'm saying is that if we really take a look at people who are really good at what they do, whether it's an athlete, an Olympian, somebody that's mastered a certain craft, best-selling author of multiple books, if we really study them and see why they have that specific result, we will tell that the only difference between legends and the ones that's average is that the legends are the people that acted in spite of how they felt, in spite of their mood, their feeling, their emotion. These are the people that went to the gym even on the days when they didn't feel like it. And it is always the moments when we don't feel like doing something. Those are the moments that will make all the difference.
Yeah, and I think those are the moments also, it's a character defining moment. But I just want to kind of break it down a little bit. So that little moment where you don't want to do it, but you just do it. I think I want to add on to that, something that I've been practicing and it has helped me a lot. And those of you watching, I hope that it helps you as well. I'm specifically talking about working out right now. Just do it for 5 minutes. I think it's very doable. Like, break it down, just do it for that 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes, you can judge whether you want to continue or not. Just as exactly what Peng Joon said, like, let that motion happen first. And then from there, the emotion will come. So for me, sometimes in the morning, the truth is, although it's like ingrained in me to work out, I still feel shit, I don't want to work out. But after that 5 minutes of just moving, the blood flowing, I continue doing it. So I think that's a really, really good point of view, that create that motion first before you let the emotion comes in. Have you ever experienced that yourself, or even today? Has that happened to you?
I love that you said that 5 minutes thing, because I used to do a lot of these home-based workouts. I would buy these programs, and now that we're stuck at home, I'm watching these things again. And I remember that one of the programs that would do these workout from homes, like the tagline is just push play. So the workout, just push play, just means like on the days when you don't feel like doing a workout, just push play. Because when you push play, that's like the first step that initiates the entire workout. And it's that small step. So it's kind of like the first 5 minutes of workout, right? It's just push play. And when you push play, you realize that, you see, the thing about like workouts is that the reason why people don't do that workout is because they've chunked it down into like a lot of steps. It's like when you ask someone, okay, let's go to the gym, let's do a workout. In their mind, it's like, oh, well, to go to the gym, first of all, I'm going to get in my car, and then I'll go to the gym. And then there's all these people staring at me. And what if I look stupid with my 3 kg dumbbells and my pussy weights? And then now I'm taking off my clothes and I put it on a locker. And then all of the clothes on the locker, it all tilts one side. And then now I need to get on the thing and I want my protein shake. And then it's like all these steps, right? And then you'll be like, okay, so, but when they ask to eat a cheeseburger, it's just, oh, I mean, just eat the cheeseburger, just one step, right? So the reason why workouts are tough, it's because they're thinking about all these different things, rather, and the best way to do it is to take that first step. Because when you take that first step, that's when it becomes easier. It's just the next thing that needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think also, if I'm going to talk about business, like this one little product that I want to push out there, I really like this advice of just putting out there and seeing the feedback, and you feel accountable. Same thing with working out. You know, the moment you did that 5 minutes, you just feel like, I've already done 5 minutes. I should continue doing more. Like, if not, I wasted that 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Some kind of like that need to continue. I want to talk a little bit right now about habits. How is your morning routine like? How have you developed something that's efficient for you?
So in my last decade of me doing my business, I've actually never had a morning routine. I've actually never slept with an alarm clock. It's very different. I've always believed in finding our own way. So I am actually really productive at night. I'm a night owl. I used to work till like 7 in the morning, and then I'll just sleep with no alarm clock and wake up at whatever time, and then rinse, repeat. So I'll just sleep when I'm tired, wake up when, and that has served me very, very well for the last decade. The only time I would set my alarm clock is when I have an event that day, and the event starts at 9 in the morning, then I would have an alarm. So I've always believed in not so much about like the morning routine and crushing it and waking at 5 in the morning. I actually don't believe that. I believe that everybody needs to understand their own body and how their mind works, because everybody's different. However, because of this MCO and I've been stuck at home, so I've been doing my team meetings in the morning, because there's nothing else to do anyways, and they're having their team, our normal day team huddle is at 10 in the morning. So now that's a little bit different. This is more of an exception, but I've always believed in finding our own way to discover our bodies on when we're the most productive.
That's really, really good because you know you have books like saying, oh, 5 a.m. club. There are people saying that, oh, morning is the best time to be awake. It's the best for your productivity. Because so John and I were very different, and why I think this is such a good point here is, John, he's a night person. I
Mm.
realize more than ever right now that I'm a morning person. I get most creative when I'm in the morning, out of nowhere, because of the MCO perhaps. And because the media always say that, you know, morning, waking up in the morning is good, it's good for you, having a breakfast in the morning, crushing it, like what you said, people
Breakfast is a
feel
scam, by the
guilt.
way.
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah. Actually,
no,
we
like
can
for
touch on
real.
that
Like,
shortly.
yeah, like, okay, so yeah, back to the thing. Like, I've realized all these years, breakfast is a lie. Like, you know, the more yeah, anyway, so we'll come to that. I sorry, I didn't mean to derail you from your main thing, but
No worries. I will circle breakfast right now. We have to talk about that. I think that's very interesting. So earlier I've mentioned that, you know, in the morning, waking up, some people they get the most inspiration, and media have kind of propelled that, right? And the night owls, sometimes they do feel some kind of guilt that when they wake up in the morning, it is just not for them. And I think what you say is amazing for those of you who feel like, oh, Jen, I can't wake up in the morning. Because I wake up like 8 or 7 sometimes, just to wake up, have coffee, and I work out. And it just seemed like such a sexy thing. But the truth is, everyone's different. Exactly what you say. I love that because John can never do that. So many times I almost guilt trip him like, ah, you're still in bed. Ah. But different people are different. And I really like that. Like, habit doesn't mean that you have to do it in the morning or at night. It is when you feel it's right. Let's talk about having a routine, right? So you have your morning, and then maybe afternoon you should work out, night you should do this. Do you think it is important to do that? To have some kind of routine?
um, in many ways, yes. I feel that the routine of having consistent exercise daily is so crucial. My pretty much my entire life, health was never really a thing until maybe just 8 years ago. And when I started doing exercises consistently, I really felt like such a huge difference in how I felt, my energy levels, clarity, focus. And I never really understood like what a big difference it would be until I started doing it. And so yes, definitely that workout consistency, and having that routine is definitely important.
So I wrote here something that I wanted to talk about building a habit or building a routine. Something about, I'm sure you've seen online, a lot of people talk about simple steps to starting, to how you start to build a habit with a goal in mind, right? Can you share with us what is setting a measurable goal? What does that actually mean? Because I think a lot of us, like for me, I want to make this business work, and that's the big dream. But it's important to have measurable little mini goals, correct? How do you make something measurable?
Right. Okay. So it needs to be, first of all, let's talk about this habit thing. Okay. Let's begin from like the big picture. The way to form a habit is to first reframe and change our own identity around it. So let me give you an example. I have been somebody that was, I started smoking at a very young age. I started smoking at 17 years old. And one of the things I thought I could never quit was how to give up smoking. Because every single time I tried to quit, I would say, I'm not going to smoke. I don't want to smoke. Okay. But what I didn't realize is by saying that sentence, it requires willpower. It's like, I don't want to smoke. And I'm associating that thing as a good thing. And therefore, I have to give it up. And that's why when something requires willpower, willpower is a limited resource. So in order to form that habit, rather than saying, I don't want to smoke or I don't feel like smoking, I changed my identity. I started saying, I don't smoke. And when you shift
Wow.
your identity, it's different now because it's just not who you are. So to start off building a habit, it's not about willpower. Oh, I have to eat salad every day. I have to eat salad every day. Because when you keep saying something like that, it just means that you're still associating that thing with this thing. You know, if somebody constantly says, oh, I'm not going to drink, I have to have the willpower to not drink, then it still means that that person is associating alcohol and drinking with a good thing, and they have to give up this good thing in life. And of course, it's a matter of time before you actually break, because it requires willpower. So the best way to form a habit is to first zoom out and ask yourself, what is the identity you give yourself with regards to that habit? Reframe and change that first. After you change that, then that is when you'll say, okay, so based on this new identity, in order to form that habit and achieve that goal, what are the steps that needs to be done, that is bite-sized, that is measurable? So it would be like, okay, I am going to start eating salad 2 times a week this week. And it needs to be something that is measurable as well as specific. But it all begins with changing that identity first.
I see. I've never thought of it that way. So I can share with everyone. John and I, we used to smoke as well. And specifically John, he smokes a little bit more. And how he stopped that habit is actually me. Because I'm always nagging. Although I smoke, I'm always nagging. So it's this negative reinforcement. And he just slowly from there, he stopped. And then out of nowhere, he just realized, I don't smoke anymore. And that is almost like going through that negative reinforcement to reach to what you just said, switching the identity. So I really find that very interesting. And I think that's something that I will sit back and actually reflect upon, and how, you know, if I were to move forward to doing my business, for example, how should I start creating a habit based on switching that identity? And I realize a lot of things that you say is no longer just about actions. I think what's great about you is that you zoom out to really focus on what the motivation or the intention is. How come you've come to what made you do that? Like, is there a book you read? Anything that you can share with us?
This
How
is
do we
actually,
get that kind of mindset?
This was such a basic thing when I was doing that workout from home program. It was called P90X. Okay, it's a very old, it's like, it was big maybe 12 years ago. So I remember when I bought this workout from home program called P90X, the trainer online, his name is Tony Horton, and there was this workout requires you to do pull-ups. And he said this such a simple thing. He said, don't tell yourself you can't do pull-ups. If you can't right now, tell yourself, I currently struggle with doing pull-ups. And at that time, I couldn't do pull-ups. And I remember thinking to myself, so it's, again, change of identity. It's not, I can't do pull-ups. It's just, I currently struggle with. And from there, I realized such a simple thing, but that can be applied in anything. So that's how I got it.
It's amazing how it, you know, something like this gives you inspiration. I imagine you're a very reflective person, are you?
I think I'm very analytical. I like to think about things. So maybe in a way, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that because the points that you've given to us is a lot about really going back to the one thing, what motivates us. And speaking about motivation and circling back to procrastination, I think another thing that I noticed that I procrastinate. For example, I have a lot of video ideas. Why I don't do it is because I'm focusing on, like you said, the amount of things I have to do. Like I'm sure you know, creating a video is not just hello, 大家好. You have to start thinking about what is the purpose of a video, why you do the video, and then you write the script, and then you do the lighting, and then you do the actual talking to the camera. It's like easily 20 steps until you actually get to the product or your goal. And I think just breaking it down to chunks. There's this thing, I don't know if you read about the Pomodoro. Have you heard of Pomodoro?
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. I absolutely love it. What's your views on that?
Well, this is actually something, I've got my iPad here, which I'll switch on. It's something that I do every day. So this time blocking thing, I found it really, really productive. So every single day I have like so I don't know if you can see, it's like every day I have time blocking. So it's like 10 to 10:30 huddle, 10:30 to 11 preparation, 11 to 12:30. So it's like this was a hack, such a powerful productivity hack for me, which is just time blocking and setting up the timer and making sure like, okay, in this 20-minute chunk, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to look at Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, and I'm just focused on this one thing. Highly recommended. Highly recommended for sure.
So for those of you who don't know the Pomodoro technique, do you want to share with us what you've learned from it, or what is it essentially?
Okay, so how I do it is I will put a timer, and when the timer is there, so if I'm in office, if somebody sees my timer, it means don't talk to me. Okay, so that's number one. It's like, okay, and if a timer is there before I start, so for those of you, let me just give you like the backstory to this, right? So imagine you start your day and you've got all these different things that you want done, and you say, okay, today I'm going to be super productive. I'm going to get these 5 things done. And then 3 hours in, you realize you've got 7 tabs open on Facebook, YouTube, you're watching cat dog videos. And then 3 hours has passed and you realize nothing happened. Okay, you're watching Jen on Instagram. And, yeah, right? So the Pomodoro method is really just setting a time. So for me, it's like 25 minutes, okay? And you put a timer there and you actually like declare in 25. So what I do is I declare in 25 minutes, I actually write down, in this 25 minutes, this is what I am going to work on. And I'm not going to do anything other than this one task here. I'm not going to open a new tab. I'm not going to look at Facebook videos. I'm not going to look at WhatsApp. I'm not going to check my email. I'm only going to do this. And just the act of putting a timer there and declaring beforehand and just focusing on that thing helps so much with getting stuff done.
I think that is something, it's a hack. It's a real hack that works. I thought it was just for me, but I realized that it actually is something that can help a lot of people. And another thing that I think on top of time blocking to increase productivity, you should also reward yourself. According to what I've read, every 25 minutes, you have that 5 minutes of just doing whatever you want, like go on social media or whatever. But you must also be very disciplined about that. You don't let the 5 minute become like one season of something. So after that, you go back to the 25 minutes. So every 25-minute blocks. I think that is the reason why social media is such an addictive thing, because you're consistently and instantly given gratification. And so for us, why shouldn't we do our productivity, increase our productivity by giving ourselves some kind of reward as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, so as long as we have this, as long as we can celebrate our little victories along the way, I think that's so crucial, because ultimately a big win is just accumulation of many small wins. And the reason why a lot of times when people have this huge goal, it can be, number one, very intimidating to have that huge goal. And also because they're not able to chunk it down, that's number two, and chunk it down and celebrate each small milestone with some sort of reward. And at least stop and pause for a second and say, hey, I managed to make that thing happen.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, when we get, it's okay, rock it.
Yeah.
I notice a lot of us, it used to be me, okay? So when I put out like a set of to-do lists and then I don't finish it, I feel guilt. I hate myself. I feel like I'm a failure. And like, why can't I finish everything? Like, do I really suck that hard? So that is the flip side for me when it comes to having a to-do list. Do you have any insights regarding that?
Yeah. Okay, so what I do is I actually have like a time study on myself. So I utilize this thing called Trello. So Trello is like a free software. It's project management, but I also use that to look at how I'm spending my own time. So inside Trello, I don't want to get too technical, but I've got my to-do list there. And in my to-do list, I have things that would be nice to be done one day. And then it would be After that would be like things I need to do this week and things I need to do today. So it's like manufacturing assembly line, but I'm manufacturing an idea. So every time I get started with one, it's very visual. I'll move it to not started, okay? And when it's completed, what I'm always doing is I'm doing a time study on myself on whether I'm spending my time on tactical stuff or strategic stuff. So if it's low-level tactical that I know that I should eventually not be doing and somebody from my team should be doing, then it's like red. So at the end of each month, I will look at all of my tasks that was done and I'll look at the color code associated to it. Red color would be highly tactical. Green color would be strategic. If it's a mix of both, it would be color coded yellow. And if it's things like marketing, shooting videos, things like that, then it will be like pink color. So I have my own color codes. So at the end of each month, I can see how I spent my time in my to-do list. And if there's a lot of red things in there, that tells me that the red things would eventually be the job description of somebody else in my next hire. So now it's very strategic on who's the next person I hire. Yeah. So
I really like, have you done like a video on how you do that?
I have actually. I'll send it over to you. But
Yeah, how can people find that? Because I think this is so relevant to what we're talking about today, number one. And number two is, for me, I never thought about it that way. I always just think to-do list is my list. That's it. I'm doing it. And I've never thought about it as a leader point of view, like, okay, I'm owning this business. You know, there's certain things that I can do it as a job description for someone else to do. And that's really, really useful.
yeah, ultimately, the reason why what most entrepreneurs do is whenever they feel stress, then they reaction higher. They feel all this stress and pressure, and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm super stressed. I need to hire more people. And the moment they hire, they realize because there wasn't, number one, a system in place or a proper direction and it wasn't transparency, that's when they realize, oh man, I gotta manage this next person now. And they realize that it becomes even more pressure than before because now there's this additional person in the team. But the way to offload and hire strategically, even if it's a freelancer, is to first do the time study yourself. So having that to-do list is great, but it's also to see how you're spending your time on strategic or tactical stuff within your business.
So coming back to the problem that I face, for example, when I can't finish my to-do list and I feel some form of like failure, have you experienced that? And how do you get over that feeling? How do you shift that thought?
The to-do list is never ending. I think that's the first thing to recognize. It's actually not possible. The moment you finish that to-do list, there'll be more things in the to-do list because business, entrepreneurship, marketing is a never-ending set of problems. You solve that initial problem, there'll be a next problem. So it's like, you just think about this way, right? So let's say if you're starting out a business, you're starting out with like, okay, what product should I create? That's the first problem. You solve that problem, the next thing in to-do list would be, oh, how do I put it on my online store? You solve that problem, the next problem will be, oh, how do I get more traffic through social media to my store? You solve that problem. After that would be like, I'm getting too many orders. My next problem is how do I deal with fulfillment and automation and shipping without it overwhelming me? Then the next problem will be like, how do I manage support with all these requests coming in? You settle a problem, it will be like, oh, I'm getting all these, how do I handle tax? What's the best way to manage my money? You probably like, how do I scale efficiently? So as long as you understand that business, entrepreneurship, marketing is a never-ending set of problems, then we understand that our to-do list at the same time is going to be never-ending, and that would be that there's peace in knowing that it's never going to end. So, and to not feel that, oh, I'm a failure for not being able to finish my to-do list because it's a never-ending list. So it's about prioritizing and understanding which one is the most important for this week that needs to happen right now.
Well, thank you so much for that insight. Now, we are slowly running out of time. Well, this is like a real chat show, you know, like, oh, we're slowly running out of time. I want to talk a little bit about life after MCO. So remember today we're talking about procrastination, having a routine or even a habit. And now that, you know, at least for someone like me or yourself, we've gotten so used to being at home and dealing with work from home. do you have any advice for those who are about to go out and they have to go back to office and have that shift of momentum all over again? Do you have any advice for that? Life after MCO.
Yeah, well, life after MCO is this. I actually feel nobody really knows what's going to happen. We don't know if this thing is going to happen again, if it's going to relapse, if there's going to be a second wave. We don't know if everyone's just guessing at this point, right? Estimated guesses, sure, but the best way to adapt is to not wait and see. I think the biggest issue that most people have, business owners, employees, everyone, the mentality is, let me wait for this thing to be over. And if somebody is waiting, that is when they're going to lose. It is all about adapting and shifting, as though this thing is like a ultimate horror movie and this thing is going to be here permanently. Because the truth is, even though businesses reopen again, to go back to the norm, it's going to be years. Just think about like the fear. Okay, so it could be like a live event, concert, going to Zoom. There'll always be people that will have that fear of being in a crowded space. So that fear alone is going to affect a ton of businesses. So rather than waiting for this thing to be over, the best way to adapt is just to imagine that this thing is going to be absolutely permanent and it's here to stay. That's the best way to be prepared for this. So with that in mind, then you ask yourself, how do I need to act and behave and show up differently? What do I need to do in my business if I were to assume that this thing is going to be permanent for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And that's how you will force your mind to start thinking and adapting and pivoting differently based on what's happening right now.
I think that's really good advice. I think for me, it takes me a long time to adapt. And I think I was a bit upset the moment, whoa, it's lifted. Whoa, suddenly so many emails coming in and I suddenly couldn't breathe. I was slightly overwhelmed. But I think maybe because I was just waiting it out, I've never really thought about it as adapting along the way. And I think that's what you're saying, adapting along the way and almost thinking about the worst that can happen, correct?
I am thinking as though this is like one of those Resident Evil horror movies. And now this thing is like, or maybe Black Mirror. Have you ever watched Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So like this is like some Black Mirror episode and this is the new norm. Like this is it. This is how humans are going to live. And if that was true, what would my business look like in order to serve my customers and my audience, in order to force me to think differently, rather than waiting and see, which is what everybody's doing.
Okay. That's really good advice. And I want your final advice on something. Why do you think breakfast sucks? Please share with us.
So
you have about 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes to talk about
the biggest scam,
why.
right? The biggest scam of all time in Asia is whenever you feel tired, then your parents will say, "Oi, mo食飯啊?" You know, and that itself, which is basically, by the way, didn't you eat rice, right? But what I realized when I started this journey of fitness and working out and in my attempts to eat right, I realized it is these things that actually make us tired. And when I shifted that and when I started taking out these heavy carbs during lunchtime, and it was just something I never realized because my mom would tapao these kind of, you know, hawker stall chicken rice, these kind of things like during lunch. And every time I would eat these typical Malaysian meals, I would always ask myself, why do I feel so tired after these meals? And I thought this was normal. I thought this is how a typical human being would feel after a meal like that. But when I took it away and I started to condition my body to behave differently, starting might be a little bit weird if you're not used to it, and I replaced it with like green juice, when I replaced it with like protein meals, protein shakes instead, I felt very different about my body. So you realize that breakfast is an absolute scam. And when you start adjusting your body, and that's why like the whole keto diet and the whole intermittent fasting is big right now. Those things are like legit. Starting, it might be a little bit weird for your body to adjust, but the moment you take breakfast out, huge difference in how you feel.
I think breakfast in this case is not, we're not talking about big breakfast anymore. What would work is some kind of sustenance that can uh, regulate your energy levels, is what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, so that our body doesn't spike up in that sugar level, and that's what causes it to crash after.
Yeah, this is another topic. This is about nutrition here, but definitely for me, breakfast in the morning, mine is like I have coffee, like a bit of milk, and then I don't eat until maybe about 12 o'clock, and then I have a light lunch and then an early dinner. So that for me has regulated my energy because, you know, sometimes lunchtime, some people, they go and eat like, whoa, the nasi lemak with the goreng goreng all over
Best.
and whoa, tastes so good. But yo, what's up? After that, you're just food coma straight away, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that will affect our productivity as well. And because of that, you know, we got to find ways to adjust. And speaking about adjusting, I need to adjust the time right now. We are close to 1 hour already. I just want to say thank you so much, Peng Joon, for this opportunity to talk to you. I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone as well. You are such an interesting person. You break down things that it seems it seems logical, but we never think about it.
Hmm.
That's what you're doing, and that's why I think you're so successful. I don't want to compare, but it's almost as if you are the Asian Gary Vee. I'm sure you've heard of that before. Have you heard of that before?
But I don't know. I've been called a lot of things, so this is kind of like the first time I think I've been
Oh,
called
really?
yeah, Asian Tony Robbins, but I don't know about Asian Gary. Yeah, but
Well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else to add? We are towards the end of the live stream. Do you want anything you want to share? Any last advice?
well, first of all, well, last of all, thank you for having me. I've seen a couple of your ads, and I always thought it was very inspiring and interesting and engaging. The one that I really loved was when you were selling your car or something. That was a while back, and I thought that was really funny. As well as the recent one when you were like selling tickets to your event, and then there was that was so good. And I think that I would love how you are utilizing your voice and your message to inspire others.
Oh
So thank you for
gosh.
having me here.
I am in awe. Thank you so much. I hope we keep in contact. I will go and find how you work out your scheduling, how you create from the red color to the blue color to the yellow color, how that works. Because I'm looking to hire more people, and that is such good advice. And you give amazing advice. Again, thank you so much, Peng Joon. Have an amazing evening, okay?
All right, thank you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.